So now we are ready to start today's session on Decode Insights with Artificial Intelligence with our partners Accenture. And we have two amazing ladies here, Subhashini, LakshmiNarayanan, and Debasmita Ghosh. So a quick introduction about them. Subhashini is a data scientist and AI specialist who has researched on and enabled transformational business projects using machine learning, deep learning, and machine cognition. Using data-based insights, Subhashini leads many global teams of data scientists, engineers, and analysts to provide AI solutions to business challenges. She heads the Natural Language Processing Center for Excellence for Financial Services and has patents in her name. So that's really amazing, Subhashini. Also, we have Debasmita here. She's a computer vision lead at Accenture. She's responsible for the AI talent plan globally and also drives the inclusion and diversity mandate within data and AI capability. Straddling multiple technologies like Oracle Apps, SAP, and .NET, she has worked on SDLC projects in CRM, procurement, receivables, SCM, and so on and so forth. So she has an experience of over 15 years of a distinguished career in Accenture, and that's really amazing and inspiring. So today's session is going to be really amazing. I'm excited, and I hope all the attendees, you are excited as well. So over to you, Subhashini and Debasmita. Looking forward to the session.
Thank you, Anjali. So, Deba, be able to share this. So thank you for joining this session. So the topic that we have chosen to be presented here is decoding the future. And as you've been knowing, this is completely from a technology perspective. So myself, Subhashini, LakshmiNarayanan, and Debasmita Ghosh, who wanted to walk you through our experience in the space, what has been the happenings in and around, and how we are already embedded into the AI journey. What does it take for you to become conversant in AI? So, next slide, please. Just to, let's, next slide, please.
Yeah, just give me a moment. It has got stuck a bit. Yep.
So, we have been in a arena, or I would rather say a period which was unexpected, unforeseen, or even thought through in our dreams, that we are completely locked out or being at home for more than, I would rather say 100 plus days, right? And the digital transformation that was happening on or which was enforced on various enterprises has entered our home. Now we we were forced to become digital savvy. We never imagined on our children getting or they're trying to take their classes from home. It never was it thought before. Now we are already in this space, right? For past 2 years, all the classrooms, the exams, assignments, all have been conducted digital, online. And though this sounds to be comic, but this is the reality. And this is a change that has been accelerating. It has already accelerated, and just not in this space. There are many other areas which we never will be thinking through, but still we will be undergoing the digital transformation in our lives, be it at office or in our personal lives. But how this is possible? See, all these are possible because of some of the levers that is enabling the digital technology, out of which AI is one of the key components. And this is a context that we wanted to set before we go on to the next set of our thought process onto the space. Deba?
Yep. We always knew that change is the only constant, right? This is still true. What is different now is that the rate at which the change is happening or going to happen in the future is going to be phenomenal, right? Like Subhashini said, that what is happening now, we could have not thought about it around 10 years back or 20 years back, and this is all due to the power of a few of the niche technologies, and AI is definitely one of them.
And when we talk about AI, you have been discussing about AI and a lot of buzzwords that you keep hearing. And whenever you hear of these words, it always connects back into AI. Some of the terminologies being deep learning, neural network, segmentation, clustering, cognition, intelligence, artificial enabled or augmented systems, machine learning. So these some of the words which you keep hearing in and around. Though some of you have started your journey in AI, but for others as well, somewhere or the another, that this is something which definitely you may end up going there. Be it a portion of your curriculum or a part of your work atmosphere, or completely taking that into your research space, right? But then, this is the reality that we have to accept, and we are already into this. And there is no question of whether AI is there in our the systems that we use today in our life. Many of you will be knowing that it is already there. Yes, AI is already around us. And to specifically call out, maybe we may know, we may not know. Many of these are in our refrigerators, the washing machines, or many other machines that we are already using, the smartphones. See, in the washing machine, the kind of composite programming that is being done is such a way that the spinning, the amount of water that it has to pour, the amount of dryness or wetness, the temperature control, all these are completely controlled by fuzzy logic. Similar is for the refrigerator. So is the kind of intelligence that is being plugged on many systems that is being invented today, or the systems that already existed, but it is coming with intelligence, additional intelligence through AI. And just not these, right? Given that we are already, apart from our work time, we are almost drowned in our smartphones. Many of these apps do have AI. LinkedIn, when you try to apply for a job or looking for a job that matches your skill set, LinkedIn already has some recommendations for you based on your qualification, your skill set, or your aspirations. And all these are because of the recommendation engine powered by AI. Similarly, when you use Uber, knowingly or unknowingly, they are actually tapping into our data, trying to connect all the patterns that is associated with the trip, the information on the people where we visited, the geolocational intelligence is captured, and they try to map who are our friends. But when it comes to investment, many of the relationship managers today are using AI algorithms. So these algorithms have been evolving over a period of time, and now they're using deep learning based algorithms to recommend the portfolio that gives the optimized returns for the customer, right? And many other things like the Amazons, which you already know, when you buy a product, another product is recommended whether you like or not. So these are based on your past behaving patterns or customers like you who had bought similar kind of products in the past. So there are many other, right? Netflix or Spotify adding to this. So again, we are trying to reiterate this: AI is already there. It is just that what is the choice we are going to make? Are we going to be using it, or are we going to be creating it? Right? So that is the choice we have to make. And given that we are looking into the kind of data that has been that is of variety, being image data, text data. Basically, there is no single solution that tries to address or solve or generate insights out of this variety of data. We need multiple techniques to solve, given that each and everything is unique of its kind. So AI, as such, you see, it's a constellation of technologies. We have natural language processing trying to solve text-related problems, use cases. We have computer vision, which tries to solve image-related use cases. We have pure play data science, which tries to solve number-related problems, and so on and so forth. Right. So basically, this constellation of technologies, it creates smart machine which tries to extend or augment the human capabilities. So, it is the choice that we are making, right? How we are going to make the machine intelligent and what is the level of intelligence we are trying to bring in. So, from Accenture's point of view, we always see that, any kind of data, if a human has to understand it, if it is a visual image, then we have to see. If it is an audio, we have to hear. If it is something related to speech or text, we have to spell out. So all these are capabilities which we want the machine also to replicate our capabilities. So that is where the sensor comes into play. So the system should have the capability to read the text, look into the image, look into the features in the image, hear the audio, extract the text out of the audio, and then apply algorithms, right? That is where the choice of algorithms depends on the type of data that is being used. So we need to comprehend the data to make meaningful insight. This comprehension happens with the mathematical formulations and the algorithms. And post number crunching or applying the algorithms where we generate insights, and these insights are of use to the business. So to make a real-time decision making, these insights are plugged onto the real-time systems to make them as expert systems, wherein a lot of systems today are getting into streamlining or getting into the straight-through processing mode of functioning. So all these are because of sense, comprehend, and act, and there is a continuous learning. So every action will always have some that could be a positive or a negative impact. So based on the outcome, there is a correction that happens onto the data, the format in which the features will be fed onto the algorithms. So it is a continuous learning mechanism, which is the typical process of an AI in the space. So that is how we are bringing in artificial intelligence into our ecosystem. And through this, what we have also enabled is we have put humans on to work on high valued services compared to trivial systems, and the trivial job or the mundane job are now replaced with AI, right? So just not with this, right? We are trying to bring in an ecosystem where machines will not completely take over the work done by humans. They will augment the work done by humans, bringing in more value to the jobs that the humans has been already doing in this space. Yeah.
Yeah, to help you understand this with a small example, right? So in a scenario wherein, while returning home from office, there has been some road accident, nothing major one, maybe a little bit of harm that is, or damage that has happened to the car, right? In previous days, it used to be a very, very cumbersome process of us maybe going manually to the bank and reporting the accident, and then there would be forms that would be manually filled up, and then there would be that would be followed by their officials being sent across to understand the extent of the damage, based on which the claim amount would be calculated, right? And this process would easily take maybe 10 to 20 days or even more, right? Depending on how promptly the bank would respond, right? Cut to the current situation, or maybe a recent future situation. We Most of the banks are now having their smart agents, the chatbots, or the conversational agents, and we can kind of chat with them directly, report the incident, right? The chat chatbot would fill up the insurance form based on certain documents that we images of documents that we provide. The text would be extracted, the forms would be auto filled, the claim would be submitted. Then we may submit some images of the damage. Those images will be evaluated to understand the extent of the damage, and based on that, the insurance amount can be calculated. So there is a huge manual effort saving. And also, if we think about the user experience, wherein it used to take days for an end-to-end process of an insurance claim, it can be down to just minutes, right? So moving on.
So we just wanted to bring in an illustration of across the enterprises, as how a data and AI together, along with the required infrastructure, drives value to the customer. So this is in the retail space. So imagine a customer who's looking to conduct a campaign. They have say 20 plus products, and they are trying to bring in they wanted to analyze their customers, who are their customers based on their buying patterns. They have captured data of their customers through online and offline mode. They do have the value that the customer has generated over a period of time. They are looking into the social media and then tracking on what the customer has been saying, so which is a sentiment. So positive and the negative sentiments of the customers have been tracked, and the customer referrals have been tracked. And they also do know from where their customers come from. So the geolocation is captured, right? So in addition to that, the transactional data, what kind of products they have bought in the past, and the typical details about the inventory. So how much of products you have on the stock, right? So if they are planning for a campaign, basically they have to analyze from all these angles, right? Who are their customers, what they have been buying, what has been the purchasing pattern in the past, what kind of positive or negative sentiments has been generated, what kind of products can be recommended to these customer based on their past behavioral pattern. Are there chances where the customers are dropping? How do they increase the footprints? There are so many dimensions into which they can analyze their customer, having customer in the center of their analysis. And to achieve this, they need an infrastructure, they need an architecture which can capture the detail. The volume of data, especially in the retail space, is huge. That every minute, every purchase generates a data. Just imagine if you have 100 million customers, or even if it's 1,000 customers, if they are making 10 different purchases over a period of month. So much is the volume of data that gets generated. In addition to the social media data, the transactional analytical data. So they have to combine the enterprise data along with the third party to social media data, or any other data which they can refer to. There are a lot of external vendors who are selling data related to their customers. So they have to combine this. So they need a space. So based on the sensitiveness of the data, if it is in banking space, there are a lot of constraints about where they have to hold the customer's data. So same is the kind of regulatory aspect that is applied in every other industry. So they have to take care of. So what kind of sensitive data needs to be masked, or encrypted? So should they be stored on premises or on cloud? So what is the period into which they can hold the data? And there should be a governance mechanism which will decide on management of data. Moving on to how to make sense of this data, right? We just talked about what kind of products can be recommended to the customer, how do we increase the footprint of the customer, what could be the volume of products that could be sold in the near future. So how do they plan for increasing their production output? So a lot of angles into which they can analyze. So based on the type of data, there are a lot of techniques that are already available in each of these spaces, be it data science or NLP especially, evaluating the sentiment of the customers, data science in trying to bring in or forecasting the sales in the near future, try to recommend the next best product or the top 5 products for the customer, trying to identify who are the customers who can attract or lead this product and go on to their competitors. There's so many angles into which we can analyze, and all of these have to be available on premises or on the cloud. And given that there is now the democratization of many of these tools and techniques, the computing capacity is also available in such a way that we are now in a better place compared to the earlier days, where now we can work on volumes of data. It is zettabytes and terabytes of data onto which we can work, and we do have the computational power which is available at a cheaper cost, right? So having talked about the data foundation, the management and governance of the data, the techniques that have been available, once these models are built, earlier the model, it was more like a scientific experiment. AI was like, can you do this, can we try out, is it workable, what is the accuracy? So these were the languages into which we used to have a discussion with the customer. But today it is not about that. They know that it works, and how can I productionize it, how can I make it a real-time execution, and how do I plug it in my enterprise system? So these are the dialogues that we are, conversations that we are having with the customer. So industrialization or extensibility of these models, scalability of these models is a topic of which has gained much more prominence now, and that's where AI ML ops, right? Typically we call it as ML ops, come into play. It actually manages the complete life cycle of right from the data, feature engineering, model creation, testing, and productionizing, right? And if there is a case where there's a need to upgrade the model, and again it takes care of upgrading the model as well, and ensure there's a seamless connectivity between the AI/ML models and the systems of integration, right? And so this ecosystem as such provides a way that where there is a continuous churning of insights, which actually helps in real-time decision making, right? And that's where we get into especially in this retail space where there is a regular interaction with the customers. We have a real-time insight of who is this customer, what did they buy yesterday, what may be that they are looking for to having an interaction with a conversational agent or a context-aware agent, or it could be any kind of a customer engagement platform. So all of these are now seamlessly integrated. And that is where there is a need, now that we are getting matured and we have gone from a scientific experiment to productionizing of our AI models. The next question comes in from the customer mindset is that how reliable are these models, and how responsible are we in making the right set of predictions? Are we considering the right data elements to make some predictions? Right, so that is where the governments are also coming into the foray. They are saying, yes, we need to monitor the AI models, it has to be regulated, the right set of data has to be used, and right mix of the combination of categories has to be used. So responsible AI is now becoming a very big topic, which Deba will be able to will be talking in few minutes from now.
Right. Yep. And as they say, your AI model is as good as the data on which your AI model has been built. So when we look into the data, there can be all sorts of biases, right? And it would become the data scientist responsibility to uh, take care of the data, to cleanse the data, so that the AI model that is built out of it is a responsible one, right? So this kind of the onus is on us, right, to build responsible AI, ethical AI, and this is at the center of discussion for all AI advancements are happening. As we know that there is a huge population who are also we call them the skeptics. They are skeptical about the AI advancements. So the major weapon that we have with us is ethical AI, responsible AI. And since we are the creators, we would be the ones who would be ensuring that the data on which the AI model is built, whatever we are teaching the AI model, whatever the AI model is learning and then analyzing, is in a responsible manner.
Yeah, and as a
moving
part
on.
of the decoding the future, just not learning AI, but no, as Debasmita mentioned, the ethical AI, responsible AI, are the hot topics which are also picking up space. So they are, there are, there's a lot of research done on how to ensure our model is ethical or unbiased and still complies to the regulatory protocols. And all these are possible, right? So, the scaling up of AI, industrialization of AI, all of these are possible because of the intelligent computing. So earlier days we were not we didn't have access to the BERT models of Google or PyTorch models of the Facebook, but now they are opened up to common public. So now what we wanted to achieve at a higher cost, now we are able to achieve and still extend the features of what BERT or GPT-3 or the PyTorch models are offering. And and in addition to that, um, the cloud technologies which have become cheaper and which are also offering services at multiple models, be pay as you use, or it's any dedicated servers for certain dedicated usage. So there are multiple models of adoption, and they are becoming to be cheaper. And the technology democratization of these models, libraries, as well as the computing power has, it has given more confidence to the data scientists to increase their span, right? So they are just going beyond. Now we are building data, right? We are not looking into the data and just building models. Now we are generating data, synthesized data. There are a lot of models which are built on to just you look into 2 or 3 lines of a data and try to extrapolate to other categories of data. So that is where we are getting onto, and all these are possible because of the exposure that we get. And given that there are a lot of security solutions that are available in the space, especially dedicated to solve the problem related to privacy, that arise with sensitiveness of the customer data, that also helps us solve majority of the problems where we can comply with the regulatory aspects like the GDPR that has been introduced in Europe, and we are able to mask the data and still build models out of it. So all these are now happening, and it's all about how we make maximum use of the techniques in trying to solve our business problems.
So yeah, so we wanted to show this funny story about the responsible AI, wherein there is a handover of a job, right? Previously, we had uh, uh, the medical assistants who used to analyze and do the diagnosis, the health diagnosis, right? And then there is with AI coming in, with automation coming in, we now have a robo doing that, and there is a missed diagnosis, and these are the certain sectors, right, specifically health, right, wherein and across industries, right, it's always going to be human plus machine, right? Because here, as we can see, we cannot afford to have a missed diagnosis, right? So here we can see this person taking a funny jab at the robo, saying sorry buddy, comes with this job, right? So our objective is always to build our solutions responsibly. We always have to keep on keeping the ethos of human plus machine, as we automate things and as we move on from a more manual way of operations to more automated, more intelligent way of operations. Human oversight is always going to be there. Right. So now we, move on to, the topic that you all may be interested in, transitioning to artificial intelligence. Now, this slide talks about how AI helps elevate employees to more rewarding roles, right? We all know in the past that, whenever a new invention, a technological invention, or even the industrial revolution that had happened, there was a huge concern that, about the future of human jobs, right? But each and every time the skeptics have been proved wrong, right? What we have seen instead coming in is a sea of transformation in the way that the humans operate. They have always moved on from more a manual way of operation to a more automated, intelligent way of operations. And that is precisely the transformation that we are looking at with artificial intelligence. And if I may explain this to you with the example of any company having their accounts payable function, invoice processing is a key business function, right? Um, so the manual way of operation included, the invoice uh, templates, the invoices that would come in, right, from the different vendors. So there would be someone who would be looking into the invoices, that would be scanned copies of the invoices across vendors, across templates, or maybe pictures taken on mobiles, right? And they would kind of jot down the details in the ledger, and this required a huge amount of workforce and the manual effort, right? Vis-a-vis the automation that comes in with technologies like optical character recognition or computer vision or natural language processing, wherein the images, the invoice images are transformed into text, and then we can have a very lean set of agents who can kind of look into the data and correct them, and then use the same data for invoice record creation. So now this entire workforce who had been occupied in doing, manual, monotonous kind of a repetitive job can move on to more rewarding and self-fulfilling roles, which require more human ingenuity, right? So that is how we are creating the higher value, rewarding, and self-fulfilling roles, right? At the same time, right, most of the clients are becoming matured with this niche technologies like artificial intelligence, etc., right? And to be ahead of the game, right, they definitely need to adopt, and hence what is getting created in the market is are new jobs and new opportunities, new skills, right? And one of the key skills here is the data science skill. So the way the transformation is happening, there is a huge demand which is currently there, and also is going to grow exponentially in the future. A huge demand for the data science skill. We have already talked about, the need of the hour is to create solutions that are responsible, that are ethical, right? And this is definitely at the center of a lot of research. So all this coming together, right? What we have is a brand new technology experience that is aligned towards personal goals, right? So it kind of responds to people based on their wants and needs, right? So here I would also want to talk about sustainability. So in today's world, there is a lot of talks about sustainability. We recently had the COP 26 session, and with technologies like artificial intelligence, there can be a lot of improvements that can be brought about with technologies like computer vision, right? Or natural language processing. They can contribute immensely towards bringing in sustainability in the society. Now moving on. So here, these are the key elements. Subhashini has already talked about the compute power, right? The data which fuels AI, right? The ecosystem, the different platforms, the Internet of Things that has all come together. The sensors, which is now creating, a lot of data. Today's world is a connected world, and a huge amount of data is created every second, right? And then finally AI combined with data and this entire ecosystem that brings about the customer experience. And a very very significant force behind bringing this to life is the talent, right? We definitely need a huge talent to bring about this sea of change, right? So we have talked about these terms, right? Computer vision or NLP, right? A little bit on each of these technologies, right? Computer vision is where we deal with digital images. We analyze the digital images and videos. So these includes satellite images as well, right? And in real life scenarios, there are multiple use cases that you will see, and in fact you can think about that can really make our lives simple. Deep learning is at the heart of the subject, data science, which is basically layers, each successive layer. So there are layers which does feature extraction and transformation, and there is this output from each successive layer which becomes an input to the next layer, and thus we make the predictions. We have reinforcement learning, which is an area of machine learning inspired by behavioral psychology, right? Concerned with how software agents ought to take actions in an environment so as to maximize some notion of cumulative reward, right? Machine learning is again ability to learn with the past historic data of some attributes and of a known outcome. It can kind of predict the outcome for a new set of data. Natural language processing is basically deals more with human languages and text and making sense out of those. And virtual agents, I believe, is the most common one, wherein we must have seen the chatbots now almost in all the applications that we come across. Right. So these are the key terms and the key technologies within artificial intelligence. Right. Now, uh, for uh, for anyone who wants to get into this space, where to begin, right? The essential skills that we require, as mentioned, data science is at the heart of the skill, and uh, the other elements include definitely our mathematical knowledge, statistics. Since we are dealing with data, stats is the key subject over here, right? Then advanced computing, as mentioned, that the growth of artificial intelligence is also due to the advanced computing that is happening today. The different scientific methods, right? Because it includes linear algebra concepts, etc. Data engineering, definitely data is the oil that fuels data science or artificial intelligence, right? Visualization, this is more from the perspective that whenever we analyze the data, it becomes much easier when it is when we can visualize it, whether it's in the form of a graph or any other analytical method. So visualization is also the key. Hacker mindset, definitely, and I would definitely encourage each one of you to participate in any of the popular hackathons or competitions that happens, right? Domain expertise is one of the very key element, because what we have observed that usually there is a propensity that whenever we have some data, some sample data, we kind of jump into training the model. We also see this propensity that people may think that kind of AI is magic and we build a model and things will start working. It has to be in conjunction with the business process. It has to be in conjunction with the requirement, right? So usually any client requirement and the AI solution to it is a combination of RPA, that is robotic process automation, and one or more of the key technologies that I talked about. So whether it's computer vision or natural language processing, or chatbots, right? Like for example, any chatbot that you interact with, right? You may you know uh, what goes behind it is also not only the virtual agent technology, but also the natural language processing, because here you're not doing a guided conversation, you are actually talking to the chatbot like a human. So NLP is a key technology. And then if you have a few images which you need to be analyzed, like I talked about, the accident that I talked about, or the invoice processing, right? If you submit the images, it will be analyzed. So it's usually a combination. So domain expertise or knowing the business process is the key, right? So this is the structure, right? And then data science is definitely multidisciplinary, right? We have data mining, right? Databases and data processing, right? So you have to start getting comfortable with all data aspects, right? Whether it's data mining or data processing or visualizations. Then you apply stats, you try to understand the pattern, right? And then finally, we come to the more sophisticated ones, which are machine learning, deep learning, and finally the applications of AI, right? So from your business strategy to your domain knowledge to communications, presentations, inquisitiveness, right? Problem solving, business analysis, all are the key elements that you should have while solving a business problem with the AI technology. Right. Now, moving on, the learning recommendations, what I would really recommend, right, that we should start from the basic. The first aspect is being conversant with AI. So you may start taking up any of the fundamental courses, right? Trying to understand these terminologies a little better, right? What we talked about today, computer vision or NLP, understand more of their applications and more of their use cases, right? um, the the other key element is learning Python or R and SQL. Python is the key programming language, right? So we should definitely get trained in Python, right? Statistics would also help, right? The stats concepts, because that will enable you to become comfortable with analysis, probability, etc., right? Linear algebra fundamentals, right? And then we you can kind of move on to the intermediate stage, which is
Just to add on to Debasmita's point on
yep.
basics, see, any of the data science or AI completely is built out of the concept of statistics and linear algebra fundamentals. So this is a must for you, even to understand how a neural network works, how a backpropagation algorithm works, or gradient descent works, right? And statistics as such is a hypothesis or a probability of occurrence. So any of or all of our predictions are completely based on this probability of when you scale between 0 to 1, right? So how do you understand those probability? What are the hypotheses which drives those predictions? The F test, T test, chi-square test, which tries to help you in feature engineering. So strong fundamentals on statistics and a command on R or Python or any of these languages. A lot of data science based languages that have been released over a period of time. Recently, there is something called Julie, which the MIT has invented. So definitely strong hand on statistics, any of the programming language, and how you query the database, right? So that you completely, you have a control on the data, you know how to merge the data, create data variables based on your understanding of the domain knowledge of the subject. This is a key for you to succeed, right, in this data science space. Because when you start mining, right, when you start building algorithms, you make predictions or make insights, you need to explain those insights, right? So these fundamentals along with your domain knowledge will help you in explaining these insights. You can explain these insights in the form of reports or the visualizations that is there, but then the command of domain plus the basics that has been listed will definitely boost your morale and confidence, and it will help you getting more prevalent in this space. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And so in the intermediate phase, you can go for more the intermediate level courses that are available for machine learning, right? And you can start learning, the deep learning aspects as well. Right. And in the advanced, right, you can definitely go for an advanced course in neural nets or deep learning, and then courses about each of these practice areas, whether it's natural language processing or speech analytics or computer vision or predictive analytics or reinforcement learning. The other aspect is, the type of work that you would be doing. So when we kind of set up the curriculum for AI, right, we had thought about the different roles, and that kind of spans across business analysts, data analysts, data scientists, right, solution architects, AI architects, etc. Right, there are different roles. Even UI designers, right? So the roles that we play can be varied. So there would be role specific trainings as well. So based on how you see yourself, the role you see yourself as playing, accordingly you can curate your learning as well, right? And definitely there are a lot of learning partners today, like Coursera, Udemy, Udacity, etc. So we can definitely leverage lots of material already there. And another key aspect of learning is learning cloud, right? So the adoption that we see across clients, right, um, is definitely cloud adoption is happening, and then AI is happening on top of that, right? So these different cloud platforms have their AI services as well, right? So getting yourself trained into any one of the cloud platforms or more than one cloud platforms is also going to be extremely beneficial, right? They have definitive courses on AI as well, how to build AI solutions on top of their respective platforms. So please make best use of those trainings as well. Right. A few of the tips that we have for you, right? Do not jump into any data science training that you see, right? You curate yourself a well-structured course, and um, and it would be more gradual, as mentioned, that move on from being conversant to the intermediate level and finally getting into one of the specializations. And additionally, cloud platforms is highly recommended. You need to have a knack to deal with lots of data. You need to analyze the data, and also learn by doing, not by watching. As mentioned, there are a lot of hackathons, public hackathons, or the Kegel contests that goes on. Please participate in them so that you kind of get a hands-on of the problem statement, of the data, working with the data, and creating an AI solution. Gradually increase the degree of difficulty. Maybe you can start with building a simple machine learning model, to a more complex one, to a deep learning model, to a computer vision CNN model. So always strive for solving more difficult problems, right? Definitely have any of the experienced data scientist as your mentor, and then practice, practice, practice. So those are the tips from us, right? And that kind of brings us towards the end of the session, and we can kind of open it up for any question and answer.
Thank you, Debasmita and Subhashini. I think today's session was really wonderful. You started with the basics and then you gave some really good tips to our members. And like I totally agree, participating in hackathon is a really good way of learning. And in fact, we are going to have a hackathon for our Fumunuko data science members very soon. So stay tuned. Also, there are two questions in the Q&A box. So the two questions are from Pavni. She's saying that I'm not that strong at math. How much level is required?
So I'll take up this question. See, when we say maths, right, what is expected is the basic arithmetics, especially the linear algebra, differential calculus, right, or integral calculus, right? Out of which differential calculus is very important. The reason being, when you are actually building the neural network model, when you work it out, manually, you will know that when there is an error correction to be made, when you're trying to improve the accuracy of a model, there is some level of error that gets back propagated, and some of the weights are being adjusted, right? You try to control certain parameters to improve the accuracy, and all these are calculated using the differential equations. So you will be able to understand that when you are see, at least try to understand the fundamentals of linear algebra and differential calculus, right? And probability and statistics, right? Especially stats. Try to understand what are stochastic process. You can start with understanding how, when you toss a coin, what is the probability. So it need not go big bang, right? You can go one at a time, as Deba has listed out, right? You try to you gradually improve the difficult ones in your pipeline. So one is on differential calculus or linear algebra, and statistics. These two are the fundamentals for you to understand the concepts in AI, data science or AI, right?
Right. And a little bit of twist to that would be that, as I mentioned, right, for an AI project, right, we need different roles, right? Like be it business analyst, or AI architect, or AI solution architect, right, along with data scientists and data engineers, right? Um, so if you want to contribute to building any AI solution, you can pick up any of these roles, right, which suits you. Like, for example, a business analyst would need to understand the domain more, and also need to understand AI enough so that they can suggest AI interventions at the right point in the entire client landscape, right? Um so if we understand the AI technologies from an overall perspective, we can try to uh, play a different kind of a role as well, right? To answer your question. What's the second question?
Awesome. The second question is again from Pavni. She is asking that Please show me the roadmap for data science from the scratch. So she's a second year of engineering student, and she's asking that should I opt for data science or AI in the third year if I'm not that strong in coding?
Okay, so we would need to understand the curriculum a little more, but if I would believe if data science is more considering theoretical, we would have to understand your AI curriculum a little more, because that can also go deep into technology and stats and analytics, etc. Right? So my recommendation would be that go through the curriculum, right? And whatever you are more comfortable with, wherever you see that there is more of application required rather than getting into the depth of technology, you may want to take up that specific course.
That's very beautifully summarized, and I like totally agree. So I think Pavni, that answers your questions. So her next question is some resources for learning. So I guess the slides already had some of the things that you could start off as a beginner, some of the areas where you can start off with. So Debasmita or Subhashini, would you like to add something more on top of that?
Yeah, so some of the resources, many online free courses are available, especially a lot of YouTube videos are available from Udemy, Coursera. But I would suggest, if you can refer to some materials on statistics, right? Some, especially Khan's Academy has a lot of materials on, how to understand probability, statistics, and and you can also probably register to courses like Udemy post understanding what is probability and statistics, right? Where they start from scratch as to what is regression, how do you do linear regression, what is logistic regression. So your see the path that you should take is first the basic mathematics and stats. Second is try to understand the basic models like linear regression. What is regression? What is linear regression? How do you differentiate between linear regression, multiple regression, or logistic regression? Try to understand Bayes theorem. So there are classifiers which are built out of Bayes. So you need to understand from your statistics and probability subject what is Bayes theorem, right? So you need to understand those concepts, which will help you build these classifiers, right? And slowly you can get on. So you can look into the data science angle as to okay, if you are into Amazon, you are seeing the product recommended, right? If you buy something, you are recommended with additional products. So how is it happening? It is all happening due to recommendation engine. So immediately you can get into how to build the recommendation engines, right? There are a lot of videos as well as materials available as to how you build the recommendation engine in R or Python. So you can try it out. So the data is available. You can try it out, and you can register into Kaggle, right? And you can try out a lot of competitions that have been rolled out in Kaggle. Whether you are able to give an accuracy to the expectation or not, but you can try out with those data with your learnings and slowly improve on top of it, right? Then you can bring in machine learning. Once you're familiar with the statistical algorithms, you can get on to machine learning algorithms, right? Especially the deep learning algorithms, which are neural networks. And may not get into the high end of what is reinforcement learning or active learning or that. You can come to that once you are completely conversant what is deep learning and other things. Then you can choose, right? After you understand how an algorithm works, you know how to build a basic neural network algorithm. Then you can choose your area of expertise, you can choose whether you want to start with computer vision, you want to start with NLP, or you want to start with machine learning, data science space, right? So, and slowly, once you are completely conversant with computer vision, you can opt for NLP. Then you can get on to reinforcement learning, right? Slowly, you can improve your scale. So that is my suggestion, and the resources are available. You can register Udacity or Udemy or Coursera. my suggestion is more of a lot of free materials are available. It is just a choice which you feel is relevant and where they're explaining it in simple terms. Yeah. Over to you, Dev.
I think very well answered, Subhashini. So, Debasmita, do you have any points to add?
No, I think I'm good. I think Subhashini covered it all.
That is great. So we have one last question. Can you give us some insights into the role of an AI? So they mentioned AI role, I suppose AI engineer or a data scientist.
Debasmita, you want to take?
Yep, sure. So, as mentioned, right? So there are different roles that goes into building an AI solution, right? So a business analyst would identify where the intervention can be in the client landscape, right? And once the requirement comes in, then we will have an AI architect who will kind of build the high level and the detailed architecture of the different elements interacting with each other, the AI solutions interacting with the RPA components, etc. Right? We will have the AI solution architect who would be looking into the data and would be deciding or coming up with a few algorithms to play with, and then the data scientist would come in, they would train the model, they would compare the different model algorithms, see which is the algorithm which is giving the optimal accuracy combined with the performance, etc. And then finally deploy the model, whether it's on premise or on cloud, onto the client production environment. Right. So there are different roles that come into play. Right. It would depend on which role you want to take up as your career progression, and accordingly, in case you're a data scientist, you would be deep into analyzing the data and then creating machine learning or deep learning models using various algorithms, or even making modifications, creating your own architecture, and if you have a knack for it, you can even go for patenting your solution, or submitting your new inventions for the national and international conferences, right? So that would be so in every sense you will be on top of technology, and a very exciting space for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Subhashini and Debasmita. I'll quickly share my screen for the members just to tell them about the upcoming events that we are going to have. So can you see my screen? Okay, so the upcoming events, we have few coming up next. One is the Research Paper Club, which is on 5th February, and there are a few other things. So make sure all the members, please go to the data science website and register for all of these events. We hope to see you there as well. In the end, I would like to really thank Subhashini and Debasmita for their time to engage with our members, to provide and share their knowledge with all our members. Really appreciate, and I'm sure that the members have found it very useful. Even in the chat, we are getting like a good response from the members, so that's really great. Really appreciate your time, and also to the members, thank you all for joining, and I hope that you found this session useful. Do join us in Slack, and because that's where we have a lot of communication going on, and you'll get an opportunity to meet fellow data scientists and explore more options as well. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity as well. It was lovely presenting here.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.